So, Dragon Ball Super, the true villain. Now, we've seen many different characters introduced, especially in this Universe Survival arc. We have 12 new gods and all of their Supreme Kais or Kaioshin and, their angels and stuff like that. We've seen a lot of different characters being introduced, on top of the fact that we have the Omni King and the Grand Priest. We have a lot of characters that kind of could potentially be, either the antagonist or the true villain. But let's examine a little bit of what we've gotten thus far regarding the information on some of these characters and who could potentially be the true villain, if any, or the true antagonist at the very least of this whole situation. Now, based on the Gods of Destruction, for the most part, everything we've read up until now regarding their characterization or how they are, they don't really sound all that evil. I mean, granted, we've seen Beerus do some kind of messed up things. I mean, killing people and making people bow to him for next to no reasons, definitely not a good thing. But overall, in the end of the Battle of Gods arc, he turned out to be not that bad. He didn't destroy Earth. He kind of, gave Goku a pass. And we've seen time and time again, Beerus and Whis as well, helping out in situations. The end of Resurrection F, the whole world exploded, and Whis reversed that because Beerus was allowing it as well. So we've seen that they're not all that evil at the very least, those two. And then based on the descriptions we've got on the Gods of Destruction that we've been introduced to, the other 11, it doesn't really seem as though any of them are truly evil. I mean, we got information on Vermouth, the clown. He doesn't sound bad. And just look at the reactions that a lot of these Gods of Destruction had when they found out about the whole rules of the Universe Survival Tournament. Like, yeah, they were mortified. They were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. People's universes are going to be destroyed. And granted, you could argue the reason that they're going to be a little bit skeptical and not all fascinated by it is the fact that their lives are at risk as well. So you could definitely throw in that argument. But based on the description, a lot of these Gods of Destruction, they at the most seem like they're maybe a little assholes, but they don't really seem like they're completely just straight up evil. All of them have just different descriptions of like, okay, they expect people to be good or they'll be punished, or, they have a quirk about them, but none of them particularly sound evil. Now, you could look at some of the Kaioshin, the Supreme Kais, like the Kaioshin of Universe 9. He kind of seems like he's a bit, if anything, an antagonist. Doesn't really seem like a good guy. He could possibly even be evil, but he's not that strong enough to be the true villain. I mean, his universe alone is the weakest mortal level, and we've seen Goku, Gohan, and Majin Buu take care of their strongest fighters fairly easy in the preliminary fight. So even if he is evil or bad, it doesn't really mean that he could be, the true villain of everything, because he doesn't have the capabilities of doing so. And then looking at a lot of the other Gods of Destruction, again, don't really seem all that evil either. They have some weird method and code of how they handle things, but that doesn't mean that they're evil. So let's look at higher up. Who is truly doing things that is making everybody worry? Now, Zeno's whole thing of the Universe Survival is, I'm going to destroy worlds and universes if you guys lose. That's pretty much what you would call an antagonist. The way they're treating it in Dragon Ball Super doesn't seem like, oh my gosh, Zeno is evil, because at the end of the day, I've said it before, Zeno seems like a Majin Buu when he was being tricked and controlled by Babidi to do these things. Zeno is a little kid and he finds fun in whatever he finds fun. You see the both Zenos, the future Zeno and current Zeno, just flicking worlds and destroying them like nothing, which at the end of the day, if they were taught to believe like, hey, let's just play checkers, I'd imagine that they'd have fun, or just the same amount of fun with playing checkers or just doing something different. So honestly, you could argue, while Zeno does seem to be the antagonist of all this, threatening to destroy universes at the drop of a hat if you lose in this tournament, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's truly the villain or main antagonist, because he doesn't seem like he's doing it out of just like malice. It seems as though he's kind of blindly doing it as a child, which obviously leads to what a lot of people have been saying regarding the Grand Priest. It either has to be the Grand Priest or somebody higher, or somebody in the shadows that is kind of controlling everything, because if these two, beings, omnipotent Omni Kings, are doing the dirty work, and they're kind of doing it based on like what they believe to be whatever they want to do, their fun, who's leading them in that direction? You got to think, well, the Great Priest, the Grand Priest, is the only one that is kind of above all of them. I mean, there are the bodyguards there, but they seemingly don't really have a role other than jumping in front of, Zeno if push comes to shove. So they don't really seem as though they have control over the situation. The only one that truly looks like he could be moving them along is the Grand Priest. Again, there could be other people behind the scenes, but it seems as though the Grand Priest truly has to be, if there is going to be an antagonist, this could be more so of an obstacle, and the Grand Priest is playing his role as well. But if you even look at the preliminary fights that we've had and everything leading up until this, it seems as though the Grand Priest has been the mouthpiece for things to come. Like when the rules was going on, you know, in the Gohan match, he ruled it, no, it's a draw, even though Gohan kind of seemingly won. Seems as though that's a little bit shady. And I mean, at the end of the day, if there's a parental figure that is above Zeno and kind of guiding him along, it would be the Grand Priest. There's no other person, unless there's somebody that has yet to be introduced or somebody that hasn't been really put into play, that could be the antagonist or the main villain of all this, assuming that there is a villain to begin with, because this could be an arc that, while there's the main obstacle, you know, the destruction of all the universes, there isn't anybody really twirling their mustache, ah yes, we're destroying and killing people. And even if the Grand Priest was the true villain of all this, what is his end game? What does he want out of all this? I mean, it could be that he wants to be the next Omni King. It could be that he is the true Omni King, another theory that's been flying around. But it is interesting to note that if there is a true, you know, Cell or Frieza or Majin Buu of this arc, then who else could it be other than the Grand Priest? I mean, there's the angels. Maybe he's scared of the power of the angels, but that's very weak, and that's a weak theory in and of itself. So it has to be the Grand Priest or somebody else that hasn't been shown. I'm really curious what you guys think. If there is a true villain of this entire arc, and, you know, the controller of all this, the controller of the Omni King, the controller of, you know, the gods of destruction, who could it be other than the Grand Priest? Is there somebody you think maybe that hasn't been introduced? Could it be the Kaioshin themselves for the most part, except for maybe a select few that are evil and they're pushing things along? Or this arc just in general doesn't have a villain? The biggest obstacle and the antagonist is the situation at hand of the destruction of the universes? Or do you think that it is the Omni King, that he truly is the antagonist, is just not being played that way? It's more so just like a kid that doesn't understand what he's doing. But if he doesn't understand what he's doing, and there's people that have logic behind them, why aren't they pushing their logic? Like, yo, it's not a good thing to destroy things. On top of that, the Omni King's position isn't to destroy. That's the God of Destruction's position. Like, let's be clear about that as well. Like, it's supposed to be Beerus or Vermoth or any of them Champa that are supposed to cast that judgment. So the fact that the Omni King is thinking of doing that to begin with is like, you're, in a way, even though you're the superior being, at the same time you're overstepping your boundaries and taking charge of positions that you have no business being in general. I mean, he's not even at that point, like, of being an adult to make a good judgment like that to begin with. So kind of curious of you guys' opinions on all this, and if there is a great villain of this whole arc, who do you think it is? Is it a Grand Prix, somebody that hasn't been introduced, or is it Goku for coming up with this tournament to begin with? No, we've already cleared that the way things look, the Omni King was going to do things anyway. And your overall thoughts of all this. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and stalk my Facebook to get more when the video ends. I'm Finette World, and as always, people, have an awesome day.